Hello and welcome to my latest weekly video news from Madison's. Well, Lovells produced a really interesting piece of research following the pandemic, looking at what are people's most important things on their checklist at the moment when buying a property. And interestingly, a fact that probably hasn't changed much, actually, I think this has been the situation for a long time, 86% of people want a kitchen that faces their garden. I know all about that actually. I had a house once that didn't have a kitchen that faced a garden, and I spent quite a bit of money, meaning that it did. It was quite complicated, had to resite a toilet, etc. But certainly when I was then living there afterwards, it made it much, much easier as a mum to keep your eye on your children as they're playing in the garden. But equally, it's where we spend a lot of time, and it's nice to look out onto your garden. So a real change there. Historically, kitchens always placed at the front of the property and your sitting room was at the back, but that's been a definite change and probably hasn't changed much because of the pandemic. But one bit that has changed the pandemic is less preference now on a playroom over a home office. So people would rather have somewhere to work from home than necessarily a separate playroom, and that's quite a change following the pandemic. I would say that wasn't always the case, but still very high on a non-negotiable list is a utility room. People more and more want a separate space to dump muddy boots, have the washing machine going without everybody hearing it, having somewhere to dry clothes. So yeah, utility rooms becoming much more multifunctional, and being very high on lists. So quite interesting to see what people are really hunting for there when they're looking for their next home. But Zoopla produced a fascinating piece of information about the rich list, the most expensive streets and properties in the UK, and 10 of the top 10 all fall within London. Probably hardly unsurprisingly that. And topping the list for the 13th consecutive year is Kensington Palace Gardens. The average price there, £29.898 million to buy a property on Kensington Palace Gardens. And not far behind it, Courtney Avenue, which is a lovely road just to the side of Hampstead Heath, and very close therefore to the lovely Kenwood House, which is a great resort if you've never been there. It's free for everyone to enjoy, has a fabulous art collection, even got a Rembrandt in there. But if we move outside of London, the most expensive road eventually that we get to is Titlarks Hill in Ascot. Isn't that a great name? 8.4 million for an average property on there. And interestingly, Guildford has the highest number of streets in terms of value. Once you move outside London, it's got 176, the top above £1 million for their average price. But not far behind that, Sevenoaks with 133 streets that go above that £1 million. And there are now more than ever what we call £1 million roads, where the average value is just over £1 million. And there's about 12,000 of those in the UK at the moment. So really interesting to see. I can't get my head around those numbers, I have to say. We'll bring you much more down to earth, but a lovely house that we've just launched here in Tunbridge Wells is lovely Wood End. It's situated at the top of Major Yorks Road. Beautiful property, 1960s architecture. A lot of you know I love that era. And it's got such a lovely location. It's so secluded because of the nature of the planting in the front garden and its elevated position, and got a lovely rear garden, double garage, and great southerly views over towards Neville Park. And yet all the town on your doorstep, the common, the great amenities. So that's on at a guide price of £1.2 million. That sounds like a bargain, doesn't it, after some ones I've been talking about? Do give us a call if that's of interest. And also another dig out to the Tunbridge Wells Puppet Festival, which is now in full swing. Do head along to the Trinity, the Assembly Halls, Royal Victoria Place. There are lots of other free events going on, so do get behind and support that. It's a really great event. Well, I hope you have a lovely week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.